Hello everybody, it's Joe from Papa Jobo's. Welcome to All Nerddom on Earth, and today we're going to talk about The Rings of Power, the show that's single-handedly trying to deconstruct and destroy Tolkien as we know him. Let's get right into this. There's an article that came out from a place called, really don't care what it's called, let's just read it because it's horrible. J.R.R. Tolkien's much-loved fantasy, The Lord of the Rings, is a work of epic scale portraying races of imaginary beings in the medieval-esque setting of Middle-earth, culminating in a battle of good against evil. Peter Jackson's film adaptations in the early 2000s established the iconography and aesthetics that many fans grew up with and consider almost sacred. So far, this sounds pretty good. Well, let's delve deeper. Now Amazon's new adaptation of Tolkien's world is coming to our screens in September. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Recent reports and a newly released trailer have revealed more details about plot lines, ramping up anticipation. But it is the diverse casting which includes non-white actors playing an elf and a female dwarf, which has caused uproar in certain quarters of Tolkien fandom. Just want to say no, it's been in most of the fandom. Anybody who actually knows about the books, who's read the books, I mean, even people who've just watched the Peter Jackson movies. She continues, some fans argue that Tolkien never described elves, dwarves, or hobbits as anything but white and claim that the casting is disrespectful to his books. But this argument is flawed in two ways. No, it isn't. Not even remotely, because this has nothing to do with race. It has to do with a mythology that he wrote that has to remain consistent for people who love his work. We're gatekeeping now, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with gatekeeping. First, these are imaginary creatures which are not always clearly described in the original books. Tolkien was more interested in metaphysical than biological questions. Bullcrap. I scoured the internet and, for 10 minutes, looking for anything that Tolkien had referenced using the words metaphysics or metaphysical, and I found nothing. This is this woman's interpretation. Still, there's some evidence of dark-skinned elves and hobbits in drafts of the Silmarillion and the prologue of The Lord of the Rings. There is a reference in The Hobbit about hobbits having browner skin on their hands. People of color are represented in Tolkien's work in the lands of Harad, and Rhûn. Second, even if Tolkien had specified that all elves, dwarves, and hobbits were white, it still wouldn't matter. Adaptations are original culture products that can imitate, question, rewrite, or interpret source material in various ways. Each adaptation is a new text, and each is an opportunity to update outdated and unacceptable tropes and find ways to represent and normalize non-white characters. This woman, it's the woke mob, it's social justice warriors, it's cultural Marxism. She's just representing it here. I can't believe she actually said it is an opportunity to update outdated and unacceptable tropes. What tropes? You're saying, she's not trying to, she's saying Tolkien was a racist. Are you kidding me? The guy was nothing but a good human being who looked at others, as humans. I don't even want to keep reading this, but I'm going to for the video. As adaptation, it says reinventing Tolkien for the 21st century. And isn't that what everything is about right now? Reinventing everything that was once established. Listen, all we're saying to you guys, literally, this is all we're saying. Create your own stuff. Don't come back and destroy ours, the stuff we loved. Don't deconstruct it. Don't dehumanize our wonderful, powerful characters, the characters who are our heroes, and the villains that we like. You're deconstructing all of it, which literally is out of a Marxist playbook. I know I reference that a lot, but it's a reality, and I think people need to start waking up to it. So she goes on, as adaptation theory scholar Linda Hutchin has shown, adaptations offer the pleasure of repetition with variation. For example, and then they go on to give some stupid examples that I don't really care about. But as disgruntled fans might reason, If Amazon must have a diverse cast in this drama, why not stick to having actors of color playing the characters who are dark-skinned in Tolkien's text? But that would perpetuate and reinforce the radicalized view of good and evil in Middle-earth. The radicalized view of good versus evil? Since when is that radical? Despite Tolkien's overall message of friendship and cooperation, raging against the German bad guys, the face of evil in Middle-earth is invariably non-white, non-European. I don't even know what to say. Orcs aren't real. Orcs aren't real? Tolkien's portrayal of the orcs, legions of evil creatures, and the men who ally themselves with Sauron, the arch-villain of Lotro, use many stereotypes associated with Orientalism and the language of prejudice often found in literature from the era of British imperialism. Tolkien was born and grew up in the late Victorian and Edwardian periods. Reproducing this white, non-white divide along moral lines would endorse a very old-fashioned and harmful equation of physical characteristics with moral choices. But Tolkien would have hated it. Yeah, he would have. He would have absolutely despised it. And you want to know why? Here's a little something I'd like to show you. Tolkien hated allegory, and that's what they're doing with this new stuff. They've shoved a bunch of allegory in it. Let's read a little quote from the good man. I cordially dislike allegory in all its manifestations, and always have done so since I grew old and wary enough to detect its presence. This is wisdom, folks. This is wisdom. I much prefer history, true or feigned, with its varied applicability to the thought and experience of readers. I think that many confuse applicability with allegory, but the one resides in the freedom of the reader and the other in the proposed domination of the author. That is wisdom, and that is a powerful statement. I'm going to add on to the end of that, the proposed domination of the author and his audience, because now we're getting ripped on just because we want to stick to history. I mean, everyone's given this analogy, but does the Black Panther need to be white? No. Black Panther is one of my favorite superheroes, or was growing up. Now he's okay. However, what I want to say about that is if he turned white, I would freak out. And that's what most of us would do. This has nothing to do with racism. It's about getting things right and respecting the source material. Even if we somehow knew what Tolkien would have thought about the new Amazon series, it wouldn't matter. Bull crap. I'd love to talk to that man. He is full of wisdom and goodness. He was a morally good man. I don't even mean religiously. I just mean as a human being. He was a good human being. The author sold the rights to The Lord of the Rings during his lifetime and signed away his right to have a substantial influence over any new adaptation. So they're lording over J.R.R. Tolkien because he sold the rights. He can't do anything about it. But some believe Tolkien was writing a mythology for England and used myths and texts from Germanic cultures that had nothing to do with people of color. However, Tolkien never actually referred to his own work in this way. This phrase was introduced by his biographer, Humphrey Carpenter. Because what would a biographer know about writing about J.R.R. Tolkien? A biographer. In a 1951 letter to a potential editor, Milton Waldman, Tolkien stated that he had intended to dedicate his work to England, but in the same letter also wrote that he wanted to leave space for other minds and hands to contribute to its mythology. But you notice what he doesn't say there. I don't want people to rip my work apart and destroy it. But why would audiences these days think of England as white anyway? The country has become a vibrant melting pot of which people of colors are very much a part. Why would a contemporary adaptation not reflect that? Because it's not about a contemporary adaptation, and there's a part in here. The country, but why would audiences these days think of England as white anyway? I don't. In any case, the idea that people of color were not part of Britain or Northern Europe in the ancient and medieval past is false. There's plenty of evidence of diversity in Roman Britain. For example, as the Vikings, they were not a homogeneous or pure racial group, especially due to trade and raids. This isn't England. It's Middle-earth. It's fake, and it was written for the people of England in the way that he wrote it. He made the races the way he made them, and there's plenty of representation if you want it in there. Seriously, I would love to hear about Rune and Harad. Love it. My goodness, where did the two blue wizards go? Where did they go? Like, honestly, this woman doesn't have a clue. More recently, films such as Thor, based on superheroes from Marvel Comics, shows figures of Norse mythology played by black actors Idris Elba, who I really enjoy. I like Idris a lot. I think he's a very good actor. I don't know about his politics. And Tessa Thompson. I know a little bit about her politics, and I don't like them. But that doesn't stop me from appreciating her acting if it is good, and if it's done in a storytelling, or if the storytelling is done properly. And what does properly mean? To me, it means following the source material. Why should an adaptation of Tolkien's literary work not do the same? Because we've told you over and over, any new adaptation of such a beloved fantasy world as Tolkien's is bound to disappoint some of the more purist fans, but adaptations are products of their times and a re-envisioning of the original material they are based on. You notice she put purists in quotes. I mean, this is a condescending woman who doesn't believe that we have a right to this world. Only she does. This is so selfish, I can't even get past it. It's insane to me. Once it airs, the new Amazon series will be critiqued by academics and fans alike for many of its choices regarding plot, characterization, and setting. But judging the cast based on skin color and claiming Middle-earth as exclusively white, which we haven't done. Do you want to show a bunch of bad German people from the 40s running around that aren't, white? No, you don't. Neither do I. Let's represent people properly, the way that they were written and the way that history happened. And guess what? Tolkien wrote this as a history, as a love letter to England. And he used races from everywhere. But judging the casting based on skin color and claiming Middle-earth as exclusively white is not just misguided. It clearly exposes what researcher Helen Young has called fantasy's habits of whiteness. As a popular element of 21st century culture, fantasy's issue with race, racism, and white privilege are subjects the genre has not yet fully addressed. Amazon's new series is a step in the right direction. So anytime someone brings up white privilege, I immediately get worried because I don't believe there's any such thing. I believe that people that think in that are inherently racist. They've read the Marxist literature. They've gone through the propaganda, and they're doing what they've been told to do. There's some people out there who spout it off and do it without even realizing what they're doing. Really, our modern day culture is steeped in cultural Marxism. It isn't a good thing. You can see what they've done. You see what they've done to our people people like Tolkien. In the end, what this comes down to is the deconstruction of another beloved franchise. Star Wars, Star Trek, The Witcher's starting to go down that road. I know season 2, a lot of people hated. I didn't like a lot of it. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and I think episode 8, the rest of them were horrible. Go down the list. He-Man, what haven't they done? I mean, everything in my house. When are they going to go after Nintendo and anime? I don't know. But I'll leave you with this. I know that Tolkien was a good human being, a good man. There was no racism to him. He wrote a mythology that people can't handle not following in modern day. It's to get a message across. It's to dehumanize, deconstruct, and destroy. I'm Papa Jobo. Thanks for listening. Welcome to All Nerddom on Earth. Peace.